Thank you for joining me for Life Experiences with Dr. Amanda. So, I want to focus on speaking with married women who are in ministry. I got the opportunity a couple of weeks ago to speak on this particular subject as at a seminar. And so, there's just some things that I found to be very unique. And I wanted to use this segment to speak to some of those women who are in ministry, or desire to be in ministry, and we have families and we're married. And so Ephesians 5 and 22, it says, "Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as unto the Lord." And there are other scriptures that speak of wives submitting to their husbands. And sometimes we may be getting our mind, I'm a minister. I have, things that the Lord has called me to do, and my husband just has to understand. And what we have to understand is that regardless of what we're called to do or what we're doing, first and foremost, we serve God. And His Word speaks to us as wives, it speaks to us as ministers. And regardless of what your capacity, what title you have, if you are a married woman, the word still says that we're submissive to our husbands, because as ministers, if anybody's going to be an example of what the word says, it should be us first and foremost. And so, like I said, that word submission in my conversations to other women, and even in times past for myself, I kind of get this weird feeling, when you say submit, because, we think of what the world means by submit. And for the world, it is a negative, somewhat word sometimes when you talk about submission. But the way that God has ordained things, if we do things God's ways, God's way, it's not a harsh word, or it's not a degrading word. God, it's a godly word, because that's His way of doing things. And so when we look at what the word says, the way that God would have us to interpret His word, and not through the eyes of the world in the interpretation, we will be willing and want to do what that word says. And so, especially, like I said, as female ministers. And I also think about, the Proverbs 31 chapter about a virtuous woman. We as women, I don't think there would be any woman who would just willingly say, I don't want to be that virtuous woman. I don't want to be that Proverbs 31 woman. And so with that being said, that total portion talks about a wife who is faithful to the Lord, and she's faithful to her husband. She's faithful to her family. So what I want to do is just finish out this segment by talking about or reading about something that Dr. Shirley Murray, who is the founding first lady of my church, she's gone on to be with the Lord. But it's two paragraphs that she left in our church manual, Full Gospel Holy Temple. And I think it's just profound. So I'd like to just read it to women or to anyone who wants to listen. And I want you to remember that this is in the words of Dr. Shirley Murray. They're not my words. But here's what she says. When you are first called into the ministry, you are not ready to go anywhere. The word call means come here. God calls you for you to get in preparation for the future, when He will then use you. God works on a time clock. Some women running before their time will leave their home, husbands, and even children to run all over the country evangelizing. This is called shipwreck in the home. So many times that woman loses her husband, her home, and her children. Then she'll say she lost all for the cause of Christ. No, she just did not have any wisdom and did not seek the will of God for her life. If you have a husband, you are his help. This is what a lot of women don't want to be. They want to run things. In other words, when God calls you, wait on God. Be all woman. Be the same housewife and the same mother you were before He called you, until He is ready to use you. If you have small children, the Lord expects you to raise those children. He knew when He called you that you had children. And two, He knows how many you will have. So you don't leave your children on this person or on that person and go out calling yourself doing a work for God. Your children will be up in age and well able to care for themselves when the Lord is ready for you to go ye. The Lord called me when my children were small. I stayed home and raised them and was a help to my husband. Now they are grown up. I can go when I get ready. And that's from Dr. Shirley Murray. So I want to leave you with that today and just encourage us women as ministers. You know, it's God first, then it's our husbands and our family, and then everything else that God has for us to do. He'll set things in order for us to be able to do that if we do it through the wisdom of His Word. So please subscribe to the channel, share with others, and next time we're going to talk about It's All About Jesus. Stay blessed.